All right, so let's start everything because let me restart it. Try to be still. Okay, there we go.
By the time a human embryo is 5 weeks old, it is just the size of an apple seed, but the brain has already begun to grow. By 8 weeks, the basic structure of the brain and central nervous system are in place. The neural networks are spreading out, and even now the nerve signals are traveling more than 150 miles an hour. At birth, nearly all 100 billion neurons of the human brain are already in place, but the brain only weighs about 25% of what it will later on. It's about to embark on its fastest growing period, quadrupling in size by the time a child finishes preschool. By age 6, the brain is 90% of its adult size. During that burst of growth...
Y'all heard that? So by the age 6, so by kindergarten, generally, the brain has already developed to about 90% of its capacity. Okay, so that's why once you get about 5, you're no longer at risk for shaken baby syndrome. So even though a child is 2 or 3 years old, you could still shake them and end up killing them or end up giving them some kind of birth defect. Well, not birth defect, but kind of some kind of delay or some kind of impediment by you shaking them because their brain is not all the way developed. It's not large enough in their brain and inside their skull, and you could possibly damage their brain by shaking them.
700 new neural connections are formed every second as we gain the capacity to smile around 2 months, to talk usually around a year, and to dress ourselves around the age of 3. In those early years, in fact throughout our lives, the brain changes through experience, learning to speak, taking those first steps, understanding colors and shapes, forming novel thoughts. But as certain neurons are used more frequently, other unused neurons go away. It's a process called pruning, and almost anything can shape us in those baby and toddler years.
Now, the technical term is pruning, but it's also called, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Okay, so that's one of the principles as well, and you'll see that later on. Okay, if they're not using it, it's going to go away. And even as adults, our brains still prune things. Why do you think we can't remember things maybe from 5th or 6th grade history? Because we're not using it. It's gone. But in order for us to get it back again, we're going to have to retake that class.
First words, first ice cream, first TV show, first argument, for better or worse.
All right.
Born to Learn is a special presentation.
No, we're not going to watch that one. It's too long. There we go. Yeah, this one is actually from my online course, and this is a 2-hour course, so we're not going to watch this video because this video itself is an hour long. So let's go ahead into the details.
Brain development. From birth to age 5, a child's brain develops more than at any other time in life. And early brain development has a lasting impact on a child's ability to learn and succeed in school and life. The quality of a child's experiences in the first few years of life, positive or negative, helps shape how their brain develops. 90% of brain growth happens before kindergarten at birth. The average baby's brain is about a quarter of the size of the average adult brain. Incredibly, it doubles in size in the first year. It keeps growing to about 80% of adult size by age 3 and 90%. Nearly full-grown, by age 5. The brain is the command center of the human body. A newborn baby has all of the brain cells they'll have for the rest of their life. But it's the connections between these cells that really make the brain work. Brain connections enable us to move, think, communicate and do just about everything. The early childhood years are crucial for making these connections. At least 1 million new neural connections are made every second, more than at any other time in life. Different areas of the brain are responsible for different abilities, like movement, language and emotion, and develop at different rates. Brain development builds on itself, as connections eventually link with each other in more complex ways. This enables the child to move and speak and think in more complex ways. The early years are the best opportunity for a child's brain to develop the connections they need to be healthy, capable, successful adults. The connections needed for many important, higher-level abilities like motivation, self-regulation, problem-solving and communication are formed in these early years, or not formed. It's much harder for these essential brain connections to be formed later in life.
So when we're trying to figure out why people behave a certain way, it's just like weird or unusual. And you know how the saying goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. This stuff is almost true with humans as well. You have to, that's why it's very important as caregivers that we are stimulating these children when we're hugging them, especially infants, talking to them, telling them what this or that is, you know, just giving them that affection, responsive caregiving. They are releasing hormones. The hormones that they release allow them to make these brain connections, okay? So it's very important that you're communicating with them and you're being responsive, talking to them about pretty much everything you guys are doing. Key things to take away from this particular slide or this particular section. This is the best opportunity for a child to grow these connections, the brain to grow these or to create these connections early on. They will not be able to do it after 7, 8, or 9. Children are pretty much stuck in their ways after then, and it's so crazy because it's very true. Right now, I am currently a kindergarten teacher. I've never taught kindergarten in my life. I normally teach 5th grade, but this year's doing something new. I really wanted to go to middle school, but hey, I was needed in the kindergarten area before I moved on. So it's so amazing to see these little people and the way they act and the way they behave and how they already have their personalities and how they're either going to be defiant or they are already developed. Is their personality just built up on itself after that age? They already have their personality. I have a child in my class who think he's everybody daddy. He literally tried to whip one of the kids. I had to stop him, like, oh my God, that's not your child. Please don't do that. Okay. I have another student who he wants you to listen to him. He want to tell you what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. But anything you say, he don't want to listen and follow along or anything like that. So the influences that these caregivers are giving them, and then I have some that are just really absolutely sweet. So by this time, they have already developed who they are going to be, period. It's very seldomly that a child can really change their personality. If a baby or a child is going to be laid back, if they're laid back when they're younger, that's probably how they're going to be when they get older. If they are, a little aggressive when they're younger, they're probably going to be aggressive when they're older. Okay, this stuff kind of goes with them, especially if they're not having a caregiver to kind of teach them better ways or even, reverse it. Because unfortunately, a lot of times we think that, oh, they're just little, this is what they do. No, at 5 or 6, no, that's who they're going to be. So we have to start rearing them from birth, especially 3, 4 years old, to correct those behaviors before they become who they are. All right. Another key thing to take from this, of course, 90% of the brain growth, can't even talk, happens before the age of 5 or kindergarten. So keep that in mind. Okay. Any questions about this segment? No. All right.
Anybody have questions?
No.
Questions?
But you're right about that, about the
Tell who's gonna be bullied in school and who's gonna be the bully.
They're saying that you're correct about how they're acting because how they're gonna act in school also. That's a main topic that we see every day.
I believe you, because I definitely see it too. And I'm telling you, when people are stuck in their ways, I'm going to be honest. Okay. So me and my husband, we come from two different backgrounds. My husband was actually, his parents were on drugs. So he was kind of given to his grandmother to raise him and stuff. And even now, my husband is almost 8 years older than me. And I'm having to teach him and show him things, just little basic stuff, but it's still things that he never had to do, or it really makes a difference. The caregivers involved in your life in the situation that you come from, it makes a dramatic difference, because whereas you would think because he's almost 8 years older than me, he would have all of this knowledge and be teaching me this or be teaching me that. Here I am having to play mom because mom wasn't there, and I guess it kind of worked because I'm a Leo, we're a little bossy, so it kind of works. But seriously, that it's a never-ending thing. This carries on into their adulthood, and unless they have somebody that they can spend the rest of their life with, that's gonna show them, teach them, and try to fill in these gaps that they didn't have when they were younger, it's going to be very hard for them to be successful. They're not going to be capable of doing certain things that most children can do, and other children that were exposed to better situations. It's hard to close the gap. And everybody don't come from a situation where they were given away. However, you don't know what's going on in the homes of these children. Every parent that comes to the child care center pretending to be mom or dad of the year, they may not even talk to their kid once they get home. Some parents are the best actresses and actors I've ever seen. A lot of them deserve Tonys, Oscars, all of that. You never know. Or you never know what a child is being exposed to when they go over other caregivers' houses, like grandparents or aunties, uncles, cousins, friends. So you just never know. So since we are, ma'am.
I'm glad you brought that up. The other day, one of my students said, what the fuck? And I talked to her mom about it, and she says that dad is not going in her house, that she stays with her godmother and them also. So that is it. So that is a good point too. So Frankie.
That's true. Yep. The parents are not the only influences in these children's lives. So it definitely makes a difference. I have one of my best friends, she keep her nephew, and he's just barely made one. He's like 15 months or something. And excuse my language, but his favorite word is bish. Bish. What do you think he's saying? He not trying to say fish? And I'm like, what are y'all saying around him? Why is that his favorite word to say? It makes no sense. And nobody will own up to it or admit, but he does go to several places, including her little sister's friend house to spend time. So they think that's where that comes from. But nobody wants to take ownership because, I personally don't find that cute. I am not the friend or mom or anything, auntie, that's going to sit and laugh at that. No, it needs to be corrected. So, yes, they are definitely exposed to several different things from multiple people. And you never know what will stick.
Why should caregivers know about brain development? The brain is the part of the body that allows us to feel joy or despair, to respond to others in a loving or angry way, to use reason or to simply react. These capacities don't just magically appear, they result from the interplay between a child's heredity and the experiences they have during childhood. At birth, the brain is unfinished. The parts of the brain that handle thinking and remembering, as well as emotional and social behavior, are underdeveloped. The fact that the brain matures in the world, rather than the womb, means young children are deeply affected by their early experiences. Their relationships with parents and other important caregivers don't just influence their moods, but actually affect the way children's brains become wired. Researchers now confirm that the way infants are interacted with and the experiences provided for them have a major impact on the child's emotional development, learning skills, and how they function later in life.
Okay, so key points from this slide actually kind of piggybacks off of what we were just talking about. You have to remember that when a child is born, their brain is not finished. It's not finished, and it develops outside of the womb. So their experiences. So if you've had a child who's been neglected and treated like trash, during their early child development, or while they're a toddler, infant, a young child, what kind of person do you think this child is going to be? Who can tell me? What kind of person is that child going to be? If that's all that has been given to them.
They're going to go the same way, whatever's given to them, that's how they're going to act.
Absolutely. Children model behaviors that they are seeing. And if you are screaming and yelling at a child, most of the time, the only way you could fix a child behavior is by hitting them. Guess what? You wonder why the kids come to school hitting. Because they are modeling what they see.
Yeah. And what
they have picked up on that behavior, and now they're doing it, that we are teaching them, okay, well, it's okay to get loud, and it's okay to get aggressive when we don't get our way, or it's okay to hit when we don't get our way. We have to model, especially as caregivers now. At home is one thing, sometimes children need discipline, but I've been to a lot of childcare centers where the daycare worker is just screaming and just do not have classroom. The only way she can reach the kids, or he can reach the kids, is by yelling at them. And that's not what we do. We have to find other ways or we allow the child to see us get frustrated, and that's when they know what it'll take to get under our skin. So, 2 things you need to take from this. Kids model what we do. Who they are and who they become as a person is based off of their early experiences in life. Now, some people do have a natural temperament, and that comes with heredity, but the majority of who a person is, because I know a lot of people with bad tempers who are the sweetest people in the world. Just do not cross them. I really do. I know some people that would never harm anyone, but please don't do anything to them. Because then you'll see a whole different person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn it around.
Exactly. So just because a person can get to a point doesn't mean that's who they are. The biggest influence are the experience that these children are having. And remember this keyword right here, wired. The relationships between important caregivers influence not only how a child behaves in the moment, but how their brain become permanently wired and who they are as a person, okay?
I heard that.
Okay.
I heard that.
How does the brain form connections? At birth, the brain contains about 100 billion brain cells that are yet to be connected into functioning networks. By the time a child is 3, the brain has formed about 1,000 trillion connections between these brain cells. Some of these connections become permanent, while others disappear as the child grows. How does the brain know which connections to keep? Connections that are used repeatedly during the child's early years become the foundation for the brain's organization and function throughout life. In contrast, a connection that is not used results in a lack of development or even the disappearance of these connections. For example, a child who is rarely spoken to or read to in the early years may have difficulty mastering language skills later on. By the same token, a child who is rarely played with may have difficulty with social adjustment as he or she grows. How brain connections are built starting from birth. Children develop brain connections through their everyday experiences. They're built through positive interactions with their parents and caregivers, and by using their senses to interact with the world. A young child's daily experiences determine which brain connections develop and which will last for a lifetime. The amount and quality of care, stimulation and interaction they receive in their early years makes all the difference.
Okay, so remember 100 billion. The kids' brains are at birth. The brain contains 100 billion brain cells that are ready to be connected. They're just waiting to be connected. And the only way they're going to be connected, or they are connected, through interactions. So are you going to make these positive connections or negative connections? Remember, you created who a person is. Additionally, a child interacts with the world through their senses. That's their 5 senses: hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching. That's why it's very important to give these children sensory activities.
A child's experiences during the earliest years of life have a lasting impact on the architecture of the developing brain. Genes provide the basic blueprint, but experiences shape the process that determines whether a child's brain will provide a strong or weak foundation for all future learning, behavior, and health. During this important period of brain development, billions of brain cells called neurons send electrical signals to communicate with each other. These connections form circuits that become the basic foundation of brain architecture. Circuits and connections proliferate at a rapid pace and are reinforced through repeated use. Our experiences and environment dictate which circuits and connections get more use. Connections that are used more grow stronger and more permanent. Meanwhile, connections that are used less fade away through a normal process called pruning. Well-used circuits create lightning-fast pathways for neural signals to travel across regions of the brain. Simple circuits form first, providing a foundation for more complex circuits to build on later. Through this process, neurons form strong circuits and connections for emotions, motor skills, behavioral control, logic, language, and memory during the early critical period of development. With repeated use, these circuits become more efficient and connect to other areas of the brain more rapidly. While they originate in specific areas of the brain, the circuits are interconnected. You can't have one type of skill without the others to support it. Like building a house, everything is connected, and what comes first forms a foundation for all that comes later.
All right. I love that particular analogy. A child's brain is like building a house, and you have to have a foundation. You have to have a good structure. If you don't have a good structure, then that house is going to fall apart or not be very sturdy.
Principles of brain development. The outside world shapes the brain's wiring. The outside world is experienced through the senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting, enabling the brain to create or modify connections. The brain operates on a use it or lose it principle. Relationships with other people early in life are the major source of development of the emotional and social parts of the brain.
All right, so remember your principles. Remember these principles. You may see them again. Either going to use it or lose it. The outside world shapes the brain wiring. That's how it's made on the inside. The 5 senses help them, explore the world. And the relationship with other people in their early life determines the development of their emotional and social parts of their brain.
Caring, responsive relationships. A child's relationship with the adults in their life are the most important influences on their brain development. Loving relationships with responsive, dependable adults are essential to a child's healthy development. These relationships begin at home, with parents and family, but also include child care providers, teachers and other members of the community. From birth, young children serve up invitations to engage with their parents and other adult caregivers. Babies do it by cooing and smiling and crying. Toddlers communicate their needs and interests more directly. Each of these little invitations is an opportunity for the caregiver to be responsive to the child's needs. This serve and return process is fundamental to the wiring of the brain. Parents and caregivers who give attention, respond and interact with their child are literally building the child's brain. That's why it's so important to talk, sing, read and play with young children from the day they're born, to give them opportunities to explore their physical world, and to provide safe, stable and nurturing environments. What should be done to encourage appropriate brain development? As a caregiver feeds a child, she or he should gaze lovingly into the baby's eyes. A caregiver should also talk gently to a baby as she or he changes the baby's diaper. Caregivers should sing to babies as well. These are the everyday moments, the simple, loving encounters that provide essential emotional nourishment. Touching, rocking, talking, smiling, and singing all affect brain development. Babies experience relationships through their senses. They read the way caregivers look into their eyes. They see the expressions on our face. They hear you cooing, singing, talking and reading. They feel you holding or rocking them, and they take in your familiar smells. Touch is especially important. Holding and stroking stimulates the brain to release important hormones necessary for growth.
All right.
The key to forming strong brain architecture is what's known as serve and return interaction with adults. In this developmental game, new neural connections form in the brain as young children instinctively serve through babbling, facial expressions, and gestures. And adults return the serve, responding in a very directed, meaningful way. It starts very early in life, when a baby coos and the adult interacts and directs the baby's attention to a face or hand. This interaction forms the foundation of brain architecture upon which all future development will be built. It helps create neural connections between all the different areas of the brain, building the emotional and cognitive skills children need in life. For example, here's how it works for literacy and language skills. When the baby sees an object, the adult says its name. This makes connections in the baby's brain between particular sounds and their corresponding objects. Later, adults show young children that those objects and sounds can also be represented by marks on a page. With continued support from adults, children then learn how to decipher writing and eventually to write themselves. Each stage builds on what came before. Ensuring that children have adult caregivers who consistently engage in serve and return interaction, beginning in infancy, builds a foundation in the brain for all the learning, behavior, and health that follow.
Did you know that you can help build a child's brain? Everyday interactions can have a big impact on developing brains throughout childhood, starting even before babies can talk.
Scientists call this serve and return. Like a game of tennis or ping pong, a child serves by showing an interest in something, and the adult responds in a supportive way.
Finding moments throughout the day to do it is easy and fun, and you'll be building strong brains. You can use 5 steps to practice serve and return with any child. Step 1. Share the focus.
When a child is interested or curious, you can see it.
What's this? It's a stroller.
Watch this child look at something in a book. Right there. Pointing shows interest.
Cow.
So does making a sound, like this child. And mom is paying close attention.
See baby moving those little arms and legs and focusing on the ball? That's a serve.
The key is paying attention to what the child is noticing.
Oh, you like those guys too?
Look at Grandpa sharing the focus.
By noticing serves, you will help build curiosity and you'll strengthen your relationship.
Step 2, support and encourage.
You can return a child's serve by saying a word of encouragement.
That's right. Very good.
Watch Grandpa return this serve by saying thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Even a facial expression can encourage a child.
Orange.
Or emotion, like this mom dancing.
Time. A.
You can also pick up the object that the child is pointing to and bring it closer.
We need help to sit her down.
Things like helping and playing with the child let them know that their thoughts and feelings are heard and understood. Step 3, name it.
Yeah, the puppy. See the windows, the house.
When you return a child's serve by naming what they are seeing, doing, or feeling, you make important language connections in their brain.
He's got bumps all over him, huh?
This brain building happens even before a child can talk or understand your words.
You can name anything, a person, a thing, an action, a feeling, or a combination.
Clean up, everybody do your shit.
When you name what a child is focused on, you help build understanding of the world around us and what to expect from it.
The baby's sitting. Ooh, the baby's sitting in the back seat of the car.
You like those? Those are raisins. You have raisins all the time.
Naming also gives a child words to use later and shows that words are important to you.
Step 4, take turns back and forth.
Taking turns helps children learn self-control and how to get along with others.
Waiting is crucial. When you return a serve, give the child a chance to respond.
How are you? I'm good. How are you?
Note that the caregiver waits here for the next serve.
See this toddler navigating a new adventure? Grandpa is waiting patiently, returning serves by asking questions and then waiting to see what happens next.
You want to cover it?
Yeah.
Are you cold?
Yeah.
I'm going to put this over your lap like this, okay? There. Do you like that?
Yeah.
Oh.
By waiting, you give the child time to develop ideas and build confidence and independence.
Step 5, practice endings and beginnings. Children signal when they're done or ready to move on to a new activity.
Watch how this child shows it's time to start something new. Letting go of a toy signals an ending. Then picking up a new toy signals the next beginning.
Want to play with the giraffe?
Sharing the focus is important in this step.
Ooh, the big eagle.
Because this mom is sharing the focus, she notices when her child is ready to end one activity and begin something new.
When you can find these moments for a child to take the lead,
Will you try this one?
you support the child in exploring their world
Would you like to play with something else?
and make more serve and return interactions possible.
Sit there.
Serve and return interaction is critical for a child's developing brain. And the best news is that you can do it anytime, anywhere, without any need for toys or technology.
Look for small opportunities throughout the day, like while you're making a snack or while you're grocery shopping. What matters most is that you're doing each of these 5 steps. Notice the serve and share the child's focus of attention. Return the serve by supporting and encouraging. Name it, take turns going back and forth, and practice endings and beginnings.
Serve and return interactions make everyday moments fun. and becomes second nature with practice. Try practicing with a child today.
Adverse childhood experiences. Children who experience more positive interactions in their early years go on to be healthier and more successful in school and in life. Unfortunately, the opposite is true as well. Poverty, exposure to family violence, and lack of access to quality early learning experiences can negatively impact a child's early brain development, and subsequently, their long-term success.
Learning to deal with stress is an important part of healthy development. When experiencing stress, the stress response system is activated. The body and brain go on alert. There's an adrenaline rush, increased heart rate, and an increase in stress hormone levels. When the stress is relieved after a short time, or a young child receives support from caring adults, the stress response winds down and the body quickly returns to normal. In severe situations, such as ongoing abuse and neglect, where there is no caring adult to act as a buffer against the stress response stays activated. Even when there is no apparent physical harm, the extended absence of response from adults can activate the stress response system. Constant activation of the stress response overloads developing systems, with serious, lifelong consequences for the child. This is known as toxic stress. Over time, this results in a stress response system set permanently on high alert. In the areas of the brain dedicated to learning and reasoning, the neural connections that comprise brain architecture are weaker and fewer in number. Science shows that the prolonged activation of stress hormones in early childhood can actually reduce neural connections in these important areas of the brain at just the time when they should be growing new ones. Toxic stress can be avoided if we ensure that the environments in which children grow and develop are nurturing, stable, and engaging.
And that is very true as well. As far as the toxic stress, it will continue to go on with them the rest of their life, even if it happens at very early childhood, it will. Like I told you about my husband's situation. I literally cannot wake up and go to the restaurant without him jumping up out his sleep. Like he hear everything. The dog can't bark without him jumping up out of his sleep. Like he's always alert, always trying to, on eggshells almost, it seems like, trying to see what's going on and trying to see what's happening. And for me, it's the craziest thing, because we have literally in November, we've been together for 16 years, and he still does it. He still does, no matter how comfortable we're living, no matter how far removed from any, poverty or anything that he's in, like he's so far removed from his situation. Like that is just so crazy to me, how everything alerts him. He stay on high alert with every single thing. He never misses anything. Even and some things can be an advantage or whatever. So like a good advantage today, like if we're watching a movie, he sees everything. It takes me 3-4 times, like, oh, that happened. Oh, did that happen? Oh my gosh, I must have missed that. He doesn't miss anything. That type of trauma stays with them the rest of their life. Again, my husband is 44 and he is still on alert as if he's an abused child.
So Melanie, does he just do it at home, or does he do it everywhere? Is he like that just at home, or is he like that everywhere?
He's like that everywhere. He's an exterminator, so he has to be on. He's just like that. His head stay on a swivel. It just stays on a swivel, literally. Trying to see everything that goes on. And he talks about me because he's like, girl, you better know about what's going on in your environment. Because I'll be in La La Land and he's just, just always on high alert. Always on high alert. I'm so chill. I won't notice anything, going on unless it specifically addresses me or unless it's something that you can't miss, like a big fire smoke or something like that. It literally has to be signs and signals. This man sees and pick up on everything. He does. It's like a spidey sense or something. And so that type of stuff does carry on. And, even though it does have its good attributes, I feel like, it's restlessness. You have to be able to calm down and like just chill, just enjoy the moment without feeling like you have to be on alert or look out or always expecting something bad to happen. That's just the best way I can put that. Huh?
Well, that's like me. When I go to a restaurant, it's always me that gets their food messed up. So I get an attitude every time. And my husband will say, before I speak, he'll say, remember, you have a daughter. Because he says you don't want to speak to that waitress like you would speak to your daughter. So every time they mess my food up, and girl, my horns come out. I'm like, why my food? Why not his food or her food?
Exactly. I understand. I definitely.
But it comes back to my dad. My dad and food. If you got his food wrong,
he was going.
Yeah, so it's like I have my husband says I have a curse on restaurant food.
But see, you see how those patterns, those modeled behaviors get passed down. So I'm glad your husband helps you acknowledge it while you're doing it, so you can, like, at least just think about it. And I like the fact that you notice it or that you're willing to admit, because that says a lot. That means that you don't mean to be that way and you're trying to make forward, steps to do better. Like, you're not intentionally going out your way. A lot of people don't see anything wrong with, the things that they do. So I think, admitting to it is a huge step. And, being able to self-correct, even when your husband gives signals and stuff, I think that's progress. That's definitely progress. But again, like you said, that was modeled by your dad. So we are, the things we see or deal with or experience becomes a part of us. Now, my biggest thing is I'm glad your husband say something, because I'm so scared. I feel like if I say something crazy to somebody, they're gonna go back and spit in my food. So it's not even me thinking about my child or anything like that, even though that's a very good point. Because what if your daughter was a waitress? You wouldn't want her being treated any kind of way.
I'll just eat what's already on the table. Like, if my husband have leftovers, that's what I'll eat. I won't resend my food back.
That's smart. That's very smart. See, that's the one thing that stay on my mind. Like, oh my gosh, even if they do have it wrong, I'm so afraid, because people are interesting. That's just the best way I can put that. Everybody doesn't have integrity. Everybody doesn't do the right thing. A lot of people don't like to be told that whatever they did is wrong. Even when they are wrong, they get mad at you. And you suffer the consequences for correcting them, even if you paying for it, because that's your food. Of course, you pay for food to be a certain way. But some people not knowing how to receive, not even necessarily criticism, but correction. Some people just won't even receive correction without, turning around and feeling some type of way internally about it. But see, that also goes back to early childhood brain development. What was they taught? What was they shown as a child? Because, one of the biggest things we need to teach these kids is it's okay to make mistakes. It's all right, and move on. But if you don't ever teach a child it's okay to make mistakes, they'll be one of those people you can't tell anything to. Spitting in people's food when they're trying to correct them. Shucks. Okay, and we are almost done with this particular topic. So let's.
Course summary. The early years of a child's life are very important for later health and development. One of the main reasons is how fast the brain grows starting before birth and continuing into early childhood. Although the brain continues to develop and change into adulthood, the first 8 years can build a foundation for future learning, health and life success. How well a brain develops depends on many factors in addition to genes, such as proper nutrition starting in pregnancy, exposure to toxins or infections, the child's experiences with other people and the world. Nurturing and responsive care for the child's body and mind is a key to supporting healthy brain development. Positive or negative experiences can add up to shape a child's development and can have lifelong effects. To nurture their child's body and mind, parents and caregivers need support and the right resources. The right care for children, starting before birth and continuing through childhood, ensures that the child's brain grows well and reaches its full potential.
All right. So that is the summary of what we just went over. So now it's time for the game. Everybody get out your phones, get out your phones, get out your phones. Let me stop this share. Get out your phones. Let me try to make this smaller. Okay, now let me share again. Everybody ready? Okay.
So explain to us how to do it real quick, Melanie.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
On the phone.
Oh yeah, I'm about to show it to you right now. As soon as it pop up, so I can show it to you and tell you at the same time, so you'll be able to follow it. And I can close this out and close that out. Come on. My computer is like, you're overloading me, girl. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay. So you ladies can see the screen, right? So type in www.kahoot.it. So type in this right here. You don't have to download anything. Just type this into your Google or your web, whatever kind of web explorer you have. Type this in, www.kahoot.it. Once you log in, you're gonna type in this pin, or depending on how clear or how big the screen is, you could actually just scan this on your phone. If you have a QR code, and they'll bring you in. But if you don't have that capability, just go ahead and type www.kahoot.it. Once the game pin comes in, you're gonna type this in: 5341749. Once that comes up, it's going to ask you for your nickname or whatever name you want to go by, and you can put it on the screen.
You got it, Julie?
I put in the code.
Oh, what's your nickname? Julie?
All right,
Oh, you're in.
I'm in, okay.
Okay, almost one more.
And you have to keep your phones awake, because if you let your screen go black, it'll kick you out.
Keep it open. Go. Stay awake. Okay, you're in. Are you in?
Okay.
We're in.
All right, let's get started.
Bunny, who's Bunny? Bunny, Alex, Tina, Tina. Okay, we're all in.
Huh?
We all in.
I couldn't hear you. The quality of a child's experiences in the first few years of life helps shape how their brain develops. Is that true or is that false? Is that true or false? One second left. All right. Now that the timer that's on the side, that's your timer. So you should have 20 seconds for each question, okay? And I'm gonna read it to you guys. All right, Alex, girl, I see you. All right, 70% of the brain growth happens before kindergarten. Is that true or false? Is that true or false? 70% of the brain's growth. All right. Remember, it's 90%. It's 90%. What happened to Sandy? You having malfunctions on your device?
Her phone goes off very fast.
It's chopping up for me. I can barely hear. It's okay. I don't know why. I think just the Kahoot is probably overloading the Zoom. The early years are the worst opportunities for a kid's brain to develop the connections needed to be a successful adult. So is this the worst time? True or false?
Yeah. I feel sad for all the foster kids that are like being abused and stuff because how they grow up, but some change.
Yes, it definitely makes a big difference. Definitely. Difference.
Yeah. Well, I got a fire on mine. Fire on mine.
Say it to me one more time. I'm trying to close some of this stuff out so the Kahoot or so I can hear you. I don't know. The sound is like cutting up for me. Okay. The brain is the part of the body that allows us to feel joy or despair and to respond to others in a loving or angry way. Is that true or is that false? All right. And that's me down there, y'all. I'm just pressing anything. I just wanted to make sure it was working right because sometimes
we were wondering who Bunny was.
Huh? Let me close some of this out so I can hear. I don't know what is going on. It sounds so choppy to me. Say it one more time for me.
We were wondering who was Bunny.
See if you can see it send it in the chat. You see the little chat button? Can you type what you were trying to say? Because I don't know. What I really think is the Kahoot, because I've been able to hear you guys perfectly the whole entire time. And as soon as we start playing the Kahoot, I haven't been able to hear you guys really good. And I'm pretty sure as soon as we stop playing, I'll be able to hear you again. At birth, the brain is finished developing. At birth, the brain is finished developing. True or false? True or false? That's right. That's false. The brain develops more outside of the womb through experiences. Okay, Alex, I see you, girl. What percentage of the brain is developed by kindergarten? %90 was the answer. 90% was the answer. Good job, you guys. Babies, important caregivers, don't just influence their mood, but they actually affect the way a child's or the way children's become what? The children's brain become what? What's that key word that we were saying? It affects the way the children's brains become what? Wonder what he been saying. All right, Wired, you all got it right. I would have took these other answers as well, but Wired was the absolute right one that I was positively looking for. Great job, you guys. At birth, the brain contains about 100 blank brain cells that are not yet connected into functioning networks. So million, trillion, billion, or thousand? Which one? Billion, billion. 100 billion connections. All right, Alex, you're on fire. Connections that are used repeatedly during the child's early years become the foundation for the brain's organization. Is that true or is that false?
Oh,
True.
yeah, I said true.
Okay, that's
Because you
That's
reveal something.
That's true. Absolutely true. I can hear you better now. That's so funny. Okay. Last question. Which of the following is a principle for brain development?
Come on, I can't see.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
The outside world shapes the brain's wiring. The brain operates when you use it. The outside world is.
I did too fast. I did too fast. It's a green one. I did it too fast. I did it fast.
Good job.
I did it too fast.
I'll just add on to it.
Okay, Alex.
That's okay.
Good job, Alex. Okay. So I'm going to send you a free clock hour as well since you won this particular game. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure I write your name down.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but I think on the other ones we do collude. Also on the other subjects.
Okay. Well, I'll get that out. I actually got we did Kahoot in high school and middle school.
Really? Yeah, I can give you my phone. I can do your phone. Well, if they do it, okay. I think she does another one.
Okay.
So you'll just have to do it because my screen stays on longer.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. She just says.
Thank you.
Okay. We have completed the early childhood brain development portion of the training. Alex, you're going to get a free clock hour. It's going to be self-instructional. So I'll send you the packet and your certificate. I'll send. Do you guys want, you want me to send?
You can send,
send everything to yours, Miss Amy?
Yes, you can send everything to me and I'm going to print them here before they leave.
Okay, awesome. Okay.